So in this video, I'd like to show you how to draw more accurately. In part one, of course, we did simple drawing, lines and so on. The first thing that we see as we open up Inkscape is the page. And when we export to a laser cutter, only what's within that page will be exported out. And as we can see, I can just use Control and the wheel on my mouse to zoom in and out there. This is an A4 sheet. It starts at 0 on the top left here. You can see a 0 on the bar at the top, the measurement bar on the top there. It's just a 210 across. And from 0 there down to just under 300. So that's an A4 sheet. I'm just going to control out and show you if you want to have a bigger design, it's going to be bigger than that. Just go to File and drop down to Document Properties there. Left click on that. And this opens up, and you can just scroll down now and choose the size you want. So I'd probably go for A3 for most of the work I do. And if I just click on that, you can see the page increases in size. And there's A2 and A1, of course. I'll leave it as A4 for now and close that. The next thing I'd like to point out as well, let's just draw a box actually. I'm going to go to the left-hand side, left click, and just draw a box. And I'll just go back to the cursor there and click off it. So there's our box. The first thing we see, let's draw two actually. Put another one next to it there. First thing we notice that it's blue, and we don't actually need that. And if you look on a lot of tutorials, they'll tell you to highlight it and then just go down to the bottom colors here and make it white. And you could do the same with this one as well. Go down here and make it white. And what I found though is that when we move our object over another one and turn it off there, you can see it actually overlaps the other one. And what we've done is we've created layers, which gets complicated for CAD drawings. I can highlight this one and just show you what I mean. I can go over to this icon at the top here, and I could make that layer. At the moment it's the top one. I can just left click on this bottom one there, and it becomes the bottom layer. So I'm going to Control Z out back to when they were blue there. And there's a better way of doing this. If we go to, let's go to Object here. And as we drop down there, the first one actually is Fill and Stroke. I'm going to left click on that and we get this box on the right hand side here. If I highlight the box, at the moment it's on Fill. I can click on this one, it's the stroke color as well, but I'm just going to leave it on Fill. And as you can see, there's a little X there. I'm going to left click on that, and it means no paint. Do the same thing on this one. So there's no fill. And now when I grab this and move it, let's just see if we can grab it and move there over the top. And we click off it. As you can see both lines there, so there's no fill between the two. Just going to Control Z out of that. And I'm going to move that a little bit further up. In fact, let's get rid of those. If I draw a couple of squares now, different ones, different sizes, another one up here. I'm going to zoom in just by pressing Control and using the wheel on the mouse. Right, let's have a look at this box here. I'm going to left click on it. And as you can see, we've got things on the top here. We've got sizes, and it looks like this box is 39.397 by 32. Let's make this 35 here, 35, and make the other one 35 as well, 35, and enter. And as you can see now, this box has become 35 by 35. That's great. And we can arrange these boxes as well. There's a really nice tool within Inkscape when it comes to accuracy. And let's just go to Object again. And as we drop down, we'll find, here we are, right down the bottom, Align and Distribute. I'm going to left click on that and we should get another box. So our fill box is still at the bottom there, but we have this set of tools here. These are really handy. Let's just select everything there. You can see, I encourage you just to open this up and play with it. Just get a load of shapes and have a play, because each one will do a different thing. But of course, you can look at the align tools, and I'm looking at this one in the center here, which is aligned straight through the middle. If I left click on that, everything is centered. We can go to the top there, so the center of the top and the bottom. There's lots of different tools we can use. So I can probably grab this, and if I press Control at the same time, there you go, I can drag that. So it's not going to go up or down, it's still staying center there, and I'll just put it across the top. So if we want to make a tab, make a complex shape, a box that's going to kind of key together, what we can do now is we can highlight both of these and we go to Path. And you can see there's one that says Union. So we can just left click on that, and you can see it's just given us the outside shape of our drawing, let's say. Let's just Control Z out of that, and you can do a very similar thing by highlighting the whole thing and go to Path, but this time we're going to go to Difference, and there you can see the tab cut out. So lots of different ways of creating our drawings there. I'm just going to get rid of all of that now and delete. I'll leave these tools on the left hand side open because they're going to be handy for us, and I'll just zoom out. Right, let's draw something accurately. I'm just going to zoom in there. What we can do as well is these measurement rulers on the top here. If we just hover over them, left click and drag, you can see we can place it on the top of our page. Now, I don't know how accurate that is. I'm going to double click on the line, and I can see it's in the y-axis, which is across here, it's 0.391. I can just type in 0 and enter. So I've got very, very accurate to 3 decimal places, really, minus to 0.000, let's say. Let's do exactly the same on the left-hand side and just drag that across. I'm going to take it right outside there, double click on it, and you can see it's 16 millimeters the other side. So I'm going to just type in 0 there and enter. And so now what I've got is a line on both. I'm going to kind of scroll a little bit and zoom into this guy. The reason I want to show you this is because if we want to draw a box, for instance, it's going to be hard to see on this screen, but you can see my little cursor there. As I kind of come to the top here, there's a kind of X there. You can come to the corner and it snaps into place on the corner. So we can actually start our box there, right on the corner. Just going to Control Z out of that, and I'm just going to prove that if I snap out and come back to the bottom of our page, it doesn't actually snap to the page. So we can't use the page to snap onto, but we can use these lines. So I can just go up here now and drag another one down, and we'll double click on it. Actually, let's just click off there if that happens, so it becomes red there, and just double click. That's great. And I'm going to make that 100. And click OK there, and you can see that's gone to the 100 mark there, but it's accurate, very accurate. On the left hand side, we can take another one out there and double click on it and type in 100 and enter. And now we have a box which is definitely 100 by 100. Let's just zoom in, and I'll draw my box now from the top down to the bottom. Take my and I dragged on my left on the mouse, on the left click, I dragged across and took my finger off, and I got to the place there. And as you can see, as we go up here, that box is 100 by 100 to 3 decimal places. That's fantastic. Okay, so let's just click off that, and you can see it's highlighted, and we have these particular little arrows here, and they all do different things. Obviously we can take our arrow there, and with Control on we can kind of zoom in and out. I'm just going to Control Z back each time to show you what they do. This one, of course, will pull it out that way. Control Z, and of course that will pull it out as well. Now if we click on it a second time, can you see those arrows have changed now? And what we've got now is, you can see a cross in the middle. We've got these arrows here and here, and we've got these ones, and we're going to be using this in a bit. These are rotate. So I can rotate my shape, and of course it's across the center, which is here. We've also got these ones which can actually drag our shape up and down. And you'll find every shape has got different editing tools within it. So it's really a very easy to use bit of software this. I'm just going to Control Z back to our square. Right, I'm going to go back now. I'm probably going to this. Let's make a circle. And I hover over the top there until it snaps, and drag it down. And if you press Control at the same time, it will stay as a circle. Go down to the bottom corner there, and I'll just let my finger go off there and just double check. And you can see the radius is 50 by 50. And again, accurate to 0, 0, 0 there. So very, very accurate drawing. I was thinking this wasn't as accurate as Rhino or something like that, but it is. It's really good. Okay, so for the purposes of today, I'm not really going to need this square. I'm actually going to get rid of these lines because I find sometimes it snaps onto them rather than to the design that I'm working on. You could leave them there if you want, but I do find they get in the way sometimes. So we can move our 100 millimeter circle wherever we like, really, at that point. So we can see the center of our circle there. I'm just gonna, and we've still got our circle tool on, so I'm just gonna Control in here so I can see it there. I'm just gonna draw another circle around the center of that, like so. And zoom back out again. You can hardly see it, but it is there, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna open up my text tool over here. So I've just left clicked on text, and I'll just put, let's say, so I want Smart Citizens Program, I think. So I'm going to write Smart Citizens to start with. S-M-A-R-T. Smart Citizens. Okay, so let's, at the top here, we've got some tools up here. We've got normal at the moment, so I can drop that down and make it bold. So we can change that. That seems okay. Okay. What I'd like to do is put it on this path, and it's actually quite easy. If we take the text, press Shift, and actually let's just click off so that our cursor's there. Press Shift and the circle, and just go to path. And it's really simple. It just puts on path, I think it is. Oh, it's actually on text, sorry, because we're working with text tools. And it says put on path there. So I'm going to left click on that, and there you see it on the path. Now, there's a reason why I put that guide on, by the way, because if we take our Smart Citizens there and click it a second time, you can see our rotation actually rotates through the center. If I Control Z out of that, it should go back to where it was. If we click another time there, so we've got our center here, which we can actually physically move. And if I zoom in, I should be able to see where our guideline was in the center there. And I'm going to pop it on that and zoom back out. You can be a lot more accurate, but I'm just going to zoom back out. Now that means that when we now move our text, as you can see, it can move anywhere around this circle. So I'm actually going to move it there. Okay, make sure it's about right there. Now I could put another bit of text on the bottom, but what's going to happen is when I change anything with the text I'm going to apply in the second case, it's also going to apply to the text I've just put on the top, and it gets really confusing. But we also know from the first introduction from part 1 that text doesn't show up on the laser cutter unless we make it into a path. But when we make it into a path, it also fixes the text in place and you shouldn't then run into problems. So I'm actually going to highlight our text and then go up to path and press on object to path. Left click on that. And what we've done now is we've created a vector line, but we've also cemented that into place, if you know what I mean. It was not going to move when we put our next bit of text in. So I'm actually going to go back to text again and just type in on here program. And again, I'll go up to, let's go to our font style and go to bold. And I'll do the same thing. I'll place this onto our path. So I'll just go to the cursor, shift, and onto our path there. And then go to the text. I thought it was path actually, but it's the text one, isn't it? And put on path there. So left click on there, and that goes on the path as well. I can click on that. Let's click off everything first and just click on the text there. Click a second time. And there's our point. So if I take our point again to the center there and zoom in, put it right into the center there. Okay. So it's a bit confusing this now. And I must admit I tripped up on this a few times myself trying to remember how to do it. It's actually quite simple, but there's lots of ways of actually getting it wrong. So I'm actually going to highlight my word there and move it around to here. Now the confusing part is we're tempted to highlight our text, then highlight the circle and try and flip, but it doesn't work. But we have to remember that this is not fixed anymore. So all we have to do really is just click on the circle alone and then go to this little icon on the top, which is flip object vertically. Just left click on that, and there you have our program on the inside there. But it's in the right format, let's say. We can deal with that in a second. So what I'm going to do now is click off everything, click on our word program, and a second time. And hopefully we haven't got our rotation in the right place. So we're just going to have to check where that is. And it's up here. So if I just Control Z, make sure it's in the right place, and drag our point, zoom right in now. And you can see it's near enough on there. There you go, and drag out again. Now hopefully when we move our program, there it is in the right place. Let's just zoom in a little so we can see what we're doing. So we've got our word program here, which I'm actually going to put on the bottom. So I'm just going to get the text itself. Of course I can just drag it and move it, but we're going to have to do something about this. So I'm just going to make it just a touch bigger and stretch it a little bit, and then place it back like so. And let's just move that. There you go, I'm happy with that. Okay, I'm going to zoom out. I'm quite happy with that. So obviously we have to take the text now, and if you remember, we then have to change it into a vector. So let's do that. Let's go up to text. Oh, sorry, path, isn't it? Object to path. And now these are set in place. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take our circle. I'm going to Control D, and let's see if I can. Okay, it's slightly to one side, but we can deal with that with our align tools, I'm sure. If we select our first one and our second one, we shift, and we can probably center it, can't we? Ah, wrong way around. So I'm going to Control Z back out there. This is quite nice actually. You can see it says last selected. I can change that last selected to first selected and then see if that works. And it moves that one. So all it does basically is to be able to swap which one moves to the other. It's quite nice that you don't have to kind of go back to be able to do that. It's really quite a nice bit of software, this. That's great. I think now if I delete this circle here and the text was still attached to it, the text would just move. But now that we fixed it, I should be able to delete that and this text stays in place. So the final thing I'm going to do now is bring in an image to the to the coaster or badge or whatever it is we're going to make, because we can change the scale at the end, of course. I've got a JPEG. I'm just going to have a look on my desktop, and here there's our Smart Citizens logo, which I'm just going to drag in to here and click OK, and then take this back up again. And of course, I can just hit Control and drag, and we can use our Align tool again to put it into place. And I don't necessarily have to, but and as you can see, we've also got a situation where we can't really see very clearly, and that's to do with the layers I mentioned. We could actually go to the top here and put it on the bottom, so you can still see the text on the top there. So just to tell you, there are different layer points. When you highlight something, you can make it the top one, or you can make it the bottom one, or any layer in between the two. So I'm just going to make it the bottom one for the moment. And I think we can also highlight our thing there. We might have to do it as last selected again and just see if that changes. And there you go. I can center that perfectly in the middle. So now we've got our design, but the image is still a JPEG. And we know that that's not going to go to the laser cutter, so we need to change that into a vector. And the way to do that is to go up to Path, and you can see Trace Bitmap. So I'm going to left click on that, and we get this box here. If we click Update, we'll be able to see what it sees, and it looks quite good to me, but of course we can make it darker and lighter. There's a kind of change there. I'm going to update, it's just a little bit darker. Shouldn't make a difference to the black and white image, to be honest. So I'm just going to click OK. So now we've got our piece complete. So let's actually save this now. We're going to go up to File, and we're going to go to Save As. And it's really important. This is called SCP Coaster. We're going to save it, but not as the R12 DXF, because that does have problems. I'm actually going to save it as the bottom one here, which is a DXF R14, and I found that's a lot cleaner. And we can just save that now to the desktop. Okay, so now I'm going to open up our software for our laser cutter. It's called RDWorks. Let's open that up. And there we have it. And so this is just like any laser cutter software. They're all very, very similar, but you'll find that each laser cutter will have its own software that comes with it. But they're generally quite easy. You just import your design, assign power and speed, and then export to the laser cutter. So I'm just going to go to File now and Import. And I'm looking for my my file, which is SCP Coaster, and open, and there we have it. And there's my design, which I'll just shift out of. Now, everything at the moment is set as cut, and we've got a colour for the outside and a different colour from the inside. Let's just have a quick look at what that's going to look like. And as you can see, this is what the laser cutter sees. It's going to draw a line around the text and around the image. So it's an outline, really. And I don't actually want that. In this case, I'd like this to be kind of filled in and burnt in, let's say. So what we can do is we can open up the black one here. And in our settings here, I'd like it to be an engrave. I'm going to make it 300 millimeters per second in speed. That's very fast. I'm going to make it about 40 in power. 40. But the most important thing is I'm going to turn it from a cut into a scan, and then click OK. I'm just going to check the speed and power on the green one, and it needs to be to cut through 4 millimeters. I know I usually use 15 millimeters a second, which is quite slow at 60% power, and that will cut all the way through 60% power, and click OK. So now my speeds and powers are set. I've got a cut on the outside all the way through a 4 millimeter piece of wood, and we've got a scan which is going to fill in between. Let's just double check that that's exactly what it will do. And you can see that the software is telling me that it's going to fill in rather than the outline, just follow the outline. It's going to fill in completely and almost color in, I suppose. And I can show you an example of that. So that's the kind of end result there. As you can see, it's been kind of filled completely there. It's quite light. This was 300 speed and about 35% power. And as you can see, this one is much darker. What I did is I just put it as a different setting. So I just changed that one then to 300 speed the same, but the power I moved up to about 45, 50, something like that, just to get that a little bit darker. So really the speed and power becomes an aesthetic choice, which is quite interesting. So I hope that's been interesting for you. That concludes the part 2 introduction to Inkscape, and hopefully that's given you the basics of what you need to be able to draw accurately. Thank you very much for watching.